Can you tell us what it's like to exit a company?
So that's a loaded question. Because you were loaded when you... so loaded. Yeah. The truth is most exits are not actually great financially.
You've been successful building companies. Talk to us what it's like to build a company from scratch.
I guess the better way to talk about it is like what it's like to be a founder and a CEO. Like it's one of these things that no one ever actually trains you or tells you how to do it. The truth is you very rarely know how to do anything. And there are too many things that can impact whether or not your company succeeds. Right? Everyone thinks you can control everything. Like as the CEO, you control sales, you control hiring, you control. The only thing you can actually control about your business is.
Everybody, welcome back to another episode of the Gridiron and Growth Podcast with Ryan Harris and myself, Bennie Fowler. Today, we have an incredible guest, a new friend of mine and a new friend of yours now,
Absolutely.
Ryan. David Mandell, serial entrepreneur, multiple-time founder, incredible businessman, husband, father, and now co-founder and general partner at Massive VC out of Boulder. David, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Bennie.
David.
Super excited to be here. A little intimidated.
Oh, you shouldn't be.
But very excited. Yeah.
And this is I've been really looking forward to this ever since one of our first conversations. I think we got connected through Jeff Sussman. So shout out to Jeff Sussman. We had an incredible conversation, and then the first time we got a chance to meet in person, we went fly fishing.
We went fly fishing,
Yeah.
which I had never done before.
Same.
Ever.
Same.
I hate the knots. I won't do it.
But I figured I lived in Colorado. I had to at least go once so they don't kick me out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we met, had an incredible conversation about leadership. So David, man, I would love to just jump into really your founder's journey, building a couple of companies. Talk to us what it's like to build a company from scratch and what that's like.
It's scary. So building a company from scratch, and I guess the better way to talk about it is like what it's like to be a founder and a CEO. Like it's one of these things that no one ever actually trains you or tells you how to do it or says, here's the playbook, right? And we read the media, we read the startup journals and online stuff and all the books, and they're like, hey, here's what a great CEO looks like. And the truth is most of that is
Mm-hmm.
and so you're sitting there trying to be like the person or the man in my case, right? Or the person, but and you're supposed to have all the answers and know how to do everything. And the truth is you very rarely know how to do anything.
Yeah.
And it's really a struggle every day around how do I figure out what's next? How do I keep it moving forward? How do I not screw up too badly that someone's going to stop or I'm going to have to shut the business down or someone's going to pull me out of my role, right? And so it's a constant struggle of dealing with today's challenges better, so you're better prepared to deal with tomorrow's challenges. But it's super lonely, it's super scary, it's super exciting at the same time, but it's a very lonely, scary journey.
With all the knowledge that you have now and all the success that you've had, when you first started your first company, what would you have told yourself?
Oh God, how long do you have? The couple of most important things I would have told myself is find people that can help you and don't be scared to ask them questions.
Mm-hmm.
We are all conditioned to believe that we should have all the answers. And as I said before, we don't. But there are people that have answers, right? Not because they're smarter. They've just been through it. They've made the mistakes, right? And to have the ability to actually call someone at 7 o'clock on a Thursday when you have no idea how you're going to make payroll on Friday and you're scared, and someone that's going to help you just because they want to help, not because they have a vested interest.
Yeah.
A lot of young CEOs that I talk to and I work with, they're like, oh, make me like this. I just want to be this great CEO. How do you make me a great CEO?
Mm-hmm.
And they're all looking for that one book or that one switch or that one thing that they can do to be like whoever it is they idolize. I'm like, that's them. You can't be that. What you can be is a little better you every day. You get there by working on the little things every day over and over and over and over in pattern recognition, right? Like, what did I screw up last week that I don't want to screw up this week? And how do I see it coming next time?
Yeah.
Right? And how do I start thinking a little better every day? Because it's about the long game, right? There's no end to the journey. You know that, right?
Yeah.
It's how do I just be open enough to know that I'm not going to be great tomorrow. but I can be a little better tomorrow. And if I keep getting a little better and a little better and a little better over time, that's a shitload better.
Yeah.
Kaizen, right?
Yeah.
Right.
Who was that mentor for you early on?
Yeah. So unfortunately, I didn't have a good one for way too long. And I made a lot of mistakes that I shouldn't have made. And it was painful for me and a lot of other people that were around. I mean, the first business that I founded, I was not the CEO. I was one of the co-founders because I was scared to be the CEO. I didn't think I was good enough, which was a mistake in itself.
Yeah.
But that company was, I mean, we raised a lot of money and we hired a lot of people, but we did not return that much money. And the culture went to complete and it was kind of a mess. I didn't have any good mentors. I didn't know who to talk to. I was scared, right? And it took me a lot of learning, and it took some good investors, right? And, you and I know some of the same investors, right?
Yeah.
And luckily I had some really good investors that didn't really help with that company, but it helped with my next company, right?
Yeah.
And so it took me really way too long to figure out who those people were. And now I think it's great to have great people. And, I've started and sold 3 different companies. I've got a venture firm, right? I've been mentoring for years. I've got, I'm a CEO coach. I still talk to people all the time about how I can be better.
You said something I want to, as Bennie says, double click on. You said, I didn't believe I was good enough, which was wrong. What process can you give people to get through that I'm not good enough feeling?
Like everybody feels this way. It's not just me. It's not just you. Like literally everyone. There's no, until you've done it several times, you don't know what you're doing. Your job isn't to know what you're doing. Your job is to figure out what to do, right? And figure out the right way to do the things you need to do, right? And this is not something you just are born with. It's not something you can even read a book about. It takes real experience to understand and get to the point of what we talked about before, the pattern recognition. Right? It's like, oh, I see this situation happening again. I can't f it up like I did last time. So how do I step in and handle it differently? And sometimes the situations are created by ourselves.
Yeah.
Right? Our own egos, our own insecurities, our own personalities. But the point is you've got to have some real good introspection. I see so many mistakes made because of ego, but at the same time you need it to keep moving forward. The best filter I've realized, or the best filter I have used to battle ego-driven decisions is understanding that this is all about the long game. And usually when you make ego-driven decisions, it's about the short game. It's about how do I look good in this situation? Or how do I do the right thing for me here? And the real game is the long game. And if you really want to play out, how do I show up the right way? How do I build a good business over time? How do I develop relationships that last past this business, right? Because most entrepreneurs I work with, they don't really want to hear this, but the truth is 98% of them, this won't be their last business, either for good or bad reasons, right? And so the real game here is how do I create relationships, trust in myself that spans the arc of my life as opposed to just this situation or even this business.
When you're working with high performers, CEOs, what has been the best form of self-care that extinguishes burnout?
So having a good support structure around you, whether it's spouse, significant other, good friends, family, good mentors, that's one of the best ways to combat burnout, right? Everyone thinks about self-care differently, right? Like, what do I need to just free myself up and not think about it? And I think it's super important to understand activities, practices, whether it's meditation or sports or something that you can do where you're also just so focused that you're not thinking about work. The problem with the whole work-life balance conversation is you're looking at them both on a scale. It's like I can work or I can have a life. And the point is work is a subset of life. They're not equal. And you need to decide what kind of life you want to have, what you value in life, and how do I not let what I'm doing right now negate the things I want in life.
I'd love to know, I've been a part of championship teams in high school, college, and the pros. And to me, I feel like that's what it's like to exit a company. Can you tell us what it's like to exit a company?
So that's a loaded question. And I'll tell you why I answer it that way.
Because you were loaded when you.
Because I was so loaded. Yeah. Exits can take many forms. Mm-hmm. And I know so many founders and CEOs who have, air quote, exited their company, but it wasn't a good outcome. The truth is most exits are not actually great financially, right? And I went through this personally, right? Like the first company I founded, as I mentioned earlier, was not a good exit. We lost a lot of money. I mean, we sold the company, check mark, exit, right? Mm-hmm. Exited founder. Mm-hmm. But it was not a good exit at all. And I was getting all the emails congratulating me. Congrats, you sold the company, dude. Like, you're awesome, right? Like, good job. And, you know, like if only they knew what I was really, you know, like I was actually clinically depressed. Like I wouldn't get out of bed for like a week because I was so depressed. And
wow.
One of my lead investors called me up. He's like, hey, how you doing? I was like, I've been better. He's like, yeah, I get that. He said, all right, what are we going to do next? I was like, what do you mean? Like, I failed. I lost your money. He's like, dude, I lose money all the time. This is the nature of my business. It's arbitrage. But you did the right things. Treated people the right way. You ran the business well. You were a good person to work with. You know, like this stuff happens. And like that was really the switch for me in the long game.
Wow.
And that person ended up leading the investment in my next business.
It's incredible having those types of people. I mean, that's why I say life is a team sport. It's literally
absolutely a team sport. Yeah. And that's, you know, that's the problem. Your original question, like ego-driven decisions are not team decisions. They're individual decisions. And that's when people start writing you off. And oftentimes very important people that can really help you in the future. And if they see you making ego-driven decisions, they will write you off. When they see you acting from a place of leadership, making decisions that are the best decisions for the business and the people around you, like that's when they lean in. And they're there to help and they're there to support. Also as a CEO, like when your company is struggling, and almost every company struggles, right? Almost no companies just go up and to the right. It's this roller coaster ride, and it's really about plateaus. Like, how do I get my company to the next place? Mm-hmm. And when your company is struggling, your team does not work harder because you yell at them to work harder and make them work weekends. Your team works harder because they believe in what you're doing. They believe in you as a leader, and they don't want to get another job. Ironically, I found the best way to treat people the right way is to know that you're not there to make friends. You're there to build a business. And way too many people, myself included, this is one of the biggest things I struggle with. Like I just wanted people to like me.
I struggle with that.
Right? And it's hard.
Yeah.
And when you're building a business or building a team or building anything, like you have to make hard decisions, which often means cutting people or firing people. Right? And the best way to do that is to understand that your job is to build a business. It's not to be people's friends. The best way to support people is to give them clear objectives that they understand, develop very specific business objectives, let them know what their job is, give them what they need to do their job, listen to the things they say, help them understand how what they do affects the overall outcome of the business, and respect them by when there are people that are not doing that, get rid of them. Because the good people always know the people that are holding the company or the team back. And the easiest way to lose the good people is by not getting rid of the people that aren't performing. And so I am a huge believer in all of my direct reports hire their own people and fire their own people. As a CEO, you don't have the same role. Your job is to make sure everyone else has what they need, that they have the vision, they understand where the company's going, why it's awesome, they understand what their responsibilities are, and they have the resources to accomplish that. Every single thing in your world relies on you when you're the CEO, right? Like your employees, you don't want to put them in a bad position. Your significant others, your customers, your investors, literally everybody around your whole world.
You get anxiety thinking about it.
Relies on you. And often, as I said before, oftentimes you can't talk to any of those people about what you're struggling with. And you're fighting every day justifying your value because it's not as obvious. Because you haven't pushed out new code or you haven't landed a new client or you haven't the stuff you're working on isn't always as obvious.
Everybody, David Mandell, man, thank you for coming on the pod.
An honor.
Dude, this was exciting.
Awesome.
Hope it was a
Thank
good
you.
conversation. Thanks for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you for listening to this episode of Gridiron and Growth with your co-host Ryan Harris and myself. Big shout out to Big Up Studios and Streamline Media for all their help with everything that we do. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. Please leave a review and please send us any questions at the gridiron and growth pod@gmail.com.